The 12th of February, 1809, deep in the woods of Kentucky, inside a tiny one-room log cabin, a child was born. He had no wealth, no connections, and no formal education to speak of. Yet, this boy would grow up to become the greatest president in American history. His name was Abraham Lincoln. He is remembered as the great emancipator, the man who freed the slaves and saved the Union. But his journey from a humble frontier laborer to the White House is one of the most extraordinary stories of perseverance, principle, and tragedy ever told. This is the biography of a man who rose from nothing and paid the ultimate price for his country. Lincoln's early life was defined by hardship and constant movement. His father, Thomas Lincoln, was a poor farmer who struggled to provide for his family. When Abraham was just 7 years old, the family moved to Indiana and later to Illinois. These were the frontier days, a life of clearing forests, splitting logs, and fighting the elements. Tragedy struck early. His mother, Nancy, died when he was only 9, but his stepmother, Sarah Bush Johnston, recognized the spark in young Abraham. She encouraged his insatiable love of reading. Though he attended school for less than a year in total, Lincoln was a self-taught genius. By the dim light of a fire, he devoured the Bible, Aesop's fables, and history books borrowed from neighbors. As a young man, he worked as a rail splitter, a flatboat pilot, a postmaster, and a surveyor. It was hard, physical labor, but Lincoln never stopped studying. He knew that his only way out of poverty was through the power of his mind and his words. In 1836, Lincoln passed the bar exam and moved to Springfield, Illinois, the state capital. He became a highly respected lawyer, known for his honesty and razor-sharp logic. Clients trusted him implicitly, earning him the nickname Honest Abe. In 1842, he married Mary Todd, a well-educated and ambitious woman from a prominent Kentucky family. They had 4 sons, but only one, Robert, survived to adulthood. The loss of his children plunged Lincoln into deep, lifelong melancholy, a darkness that he carried with him every day. Politically, Lincoln started as a Whig. He served a term in the U.S. House of Representatives. But it was his return to politics in the 1850s that changed history. The issue of slavery was tearing the nation apart. In 1858, Lincoln challenged the powerful Senator Stephen Douglas for his seat in Illinois. The series of debates that followed captured the nation's attention. Lincoln argued against the spread of slavery into new Western territories. He famously quoted the Bible saying, "A house divided against itself cannot stand." He believed that America could not survive as a nation half slave and half free. Although he lost that Senate election, the debates made Lincoln a national figure. The new Republican Party saw him as their future. In November 1860, Abraham Lincoln was elected the 16th President of the United States. But his victory was a disaster for the southern slaveholding states. Before he even took office, South Carolina seceded from the Union, followed by 6 other states. They formed the Confederate States of America. Lincoln faced an impossible crisis. In his inaugural address, he pleaded for peace, but he made one thing crystal clear: secession was illegal, and he would do everything in his power to preserve the Union. On the 12th of April, 1861, Confederate forces fired on Fort Sumter in South Carolina. The Civil War had begun. The first years of the war were a nightmare for the North. Lincoln struggled to find competent generals and suffered heavy defeats, but he never wavered in his resolve. On the 1st of January 1863, Lincoln made a decision that would define his legacy forever. He signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This executive order declared that all slaves in the Confederate States were now free. While it did not immediately free all enslaved people, it was a turning point. It changed the purpose of the war. The North was no longer just fighting to save the Union. They were fighting for human freedom. On the 19th of November, 1863, at the dedication of a military cemetery in Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, Lincoln gave a speech that lasted only 2 minutes. It was barely noted by the press at the time, but it became one of the most famous speeches in history. In just 272 words, he redefined the meaning of the war. He said that the soldiers who died there had given their lives so that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth. He framed the war not just as a military conflict, but as a test of whether democracy itself could survive. In 1864, Lincoln was re-elected. In his second inaugural address, he spoke of reconciliation and healing. He famously urged the nation to act with malice toward none, with charity for all. On the 9th of April, 1865, General Robert E. Lee surrendered. The Civil War was finally over. Lincoln had saved the nation. But the joy was short-lived. Just 5 days later, on April 14, Good Friday, Lincoln and his wife attended a performance at Ford's Theater in Washington, D.C. A Confederate sympathizer and actor, John Wilkes Booth, snuck into the presidential box and shot Lincoln in the back of the head. The president never regained consciousness. He passed away early the next morning. Abraham Lincoln did not live to see the ratification of the 13th Amendment, which permanently abolished slavery in the United States. But his legacy is immortal. He rose from a log cabin to the White House through sheer willpower. He guided his nation through its darkest hour. He paid for his country's survival with his own blood. Today, his face is carved into Mount Rushmore. His memorial in Washington, D.C., stands as a monument to his ideals, and his words still echo through the ages. Abraham Lincoln proved that even in the face of impossible odds, one man's conviction can save a nation and change the world forever.